You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.
Hooray! It didn't break. I did things.
Are we live? Is
Yes,
this happening?
yes, we're here.
Oh god.
Hi.
Okay, that's good. I just sort of managed to intuit that we were like randomly live from the like it didn't break rather than a you know, hello everyone, how are we doing? Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Well, I still see that I have a green screen that is.
The more you move around, the more it like hates you.
Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's it read one of my posts. I hear that my posting tends to do that. So we have Jay Amazingness with us today.
Yes, we do. Yes. Hi, Jay.
Good.
Hi. Hello.
I see you're wearing red also, Boat. That's an interesting fashion.
Yes,
I agree.
I have like 8 red shirts to choose from. I just chose this one because it shows up as
like,
a blue screen.
Well, you need to have like 50. I think 50 Shades of Red is the appropriate
Shades
number.
of red? Oh goodness.
Anyway, all right. Well, we're off to a start. I'm not really sure whether it's a great start or a wonderful start or a terrible start, but it's definitely a start. We have 2 red shirts. We have Laz is literally stuck in traffic. So again, when we do a Metaboat show, he was like, I'm literally stuck in traffic. I can't make it. I'm sorry. So we have us here. And somebody is saying that Mittani sounds like he's broadcasting from his Fuhrer bunker. The war must be harsh. I suffer so. You have no idea how hard it is to make it through the day.
It's going really bad.
Oh my god, these people, I swear. One of the things that we really enjoy on the Meta Show, at least the last couple of weeks, is it's an opportunity for our enemies to come and see us face to face and discover that, excuse me, apparently that we have been smoking too much weed and got a nasty smoker's cough, which is also more evidence of our spirit waning. But the word's been getting pretty... What?
Be careful with that comment on weed. We had a guy yesterday say illicit drugs and he'll report our Twitch.
Well, I didn't say anything about that at all. You are just delusional.
Yeah, well, it's your medical reason.
Take my money.
Oh, we have a donation already of $10.
That green glow means
oh my god.
has been using power from the Tommy Knockers.
Apparently you've been using the power from the Tommy Knockers because of your green glow.
I don't really know. Like this whole you know
your green screen's fine, but I think it's your lighting. Like your when you move around, the lighting adjusts just slightly. And so the green
if I sound really echoey, I mean, if I move this over here, is this working?
No, I think he's talking about the green glow of the green screen, but that's okay.
No, somebody's saying that like my mic is fucking up. So Jay is here, and this is the first time we've actually had Jay on the Meta Show. I'm going to diddle with my Skype settings real fast because I want to make sure that I'm not secretly using my webcam microphone instead of the Yeti. Okay, we're good. I just sound echoey. I have no idea why.
That's okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh,
so what's been going on?
We have another resubscribe for 12 months. Thank you, Luminal Plus.
Scary. Oh my god. Okay. We would normally be going through the nullsec news here. We would also normally be introducing our guest before we get to the nullsec power hour or something like that. I keep getting entranced by this weird shade on the contrast there. So now I've become like a weird demonic entity of darkness.
I can fix that.
Okay, thank you, Mitty, for getting me to fix my microphone because apparently now it's not nearly as awful as before. Okay, we're doing it live. We're trying to make me pretty on live TV. I see how it is. It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. No, it's your camera. I figured it out now. Your camera keeps changing the green screen color from like a bright green to a dark green to a bright green to a dark green to a bright green. So every time you move, it adjusts, and that's why the thing is messing up. Anyway.
So it basically is trying like an autofocus thing.
Yeah, see, it's an autofocus. I hope the stream can see this because it's hilarious on my screen. It's like right now it's like a golf course screen. Now it's like a turf green, and it just keeps going back and forth.
I have no idea. Okay. So Jay, let's actually talk about our guest before we get going. So Jay, who the hell are you, and what the hell have you been doing recently? besides blowing up fax machines?
Yeah, I'm an FC for GSF, and today I killed a fax machine, which was a great moral victory for us. Yeah, I decided to bring a fax machine to my undock, and I didn't have any of that, so I undocked 180 bombers, and he panic cyanoed, which ultimately led to his death.
That is, well, that was actually sort of the interesting thing we saw in like the last week. So there's actually been a lot of relatively, at least if you like Sov Warfare, interesting, gritty, tactical shit happening. And so you've been seeing these fax machines, which are of course the new Force Auxiliary carriers, which nobody likes the name for Force Auxiliaries, so we all call them fax machines, being used to do Intosis work, right? So instead of just using like an old triage carrier, you put a fax machine on there, and they've got a lot of cap, and they've got an awful lot of tank. And when they were first revealed, Pandemic Legion put them on the field in a contest for an EC-TAC iHub or a Freeport, one or the other. It's been changing hands so much back and forth, it's ridiculous. Last week, and then we were jamming them, and then it's finally like, you know what? Why don't we just throw 1 million bombers at it? Which is kind of what we did at that Aeon a couple weeks ago. Also, what was that like? I mean, how quickly did it go down, Jay?
Took a couple minutes to go down. They have a really big burst tank, but they can't sustain that rep power. Eventually, you'll just break through it. But problem today was them dropping Titans with high-angle weapons.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Titans with what they call them, Halls.
Yeah, the Hall guns.
Weapons. They're disgusting.
I need to drink more coffee. I've essentially what I've determined here on this MetaBoat show is that the last time we did this, we had Zeltharak, and he was Zeltharuk, I should say, and he was toot-tooting and blap-blapping. And I don't want to make it look like my spirit is waning because unfortunately I'm a little bit too serious for this MetaBoat show. Because I've got a page of notes here and things, and I'm like, okay, well, we don't have labs, so let's make bullet points so we can talk about EVE Online. And I might be sort of like ruining the dynamic of having Boat just giggle at us by me trying to talk about like fax machines, because when Laz and I get together, we do this. It's very
serious
we
business,
need to
yes,
serious business, and yes. Then I have to remember it is a boat show.
I ruin everything when I come on because
I think you make everything awesome.
When I watch Laz do it, it's like structured. It's like, okay, we're gonna talk about this, and then we're gonna go to that, and then we're gonna go to this, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna just have things.
Okay.
But to your thing about these bombers killing capitals, it's fucking amazing. Like the Aeon, from broadcast to bridge to death was 8 minutes, and we had the double bridge. So that meant after you take the first bridge, you have 1.5 minute fatigue, and then another bridge. And we had to sort like 8 ops because we had 300 bombers, and some of our blocks weren't fit right, and it was just like a scramble. And yeah, I ended up 160 guys on the grid and killed him in like 3 minutes because he hadn't really fit yet.
I'm hearing that your volume is apparently really low. I can hear you just fine on Skype, but apparently...
Yeah, everyone can hear me on Skype. Okay, well, I can fix that.
But I can't... Apparently, the guys who are watching are saying that your actual volume is pretty low. So, I mean, one of the things that we're seeing here is this sort of curious iteration with... And we have yet to really see what's going on with the void bombs, right? Because they've added focused void bombs. And there's this new dynamic that you're seeing in EVE since the Citadel patch, is that people are sort of figuring out the new tactics and how they relate to Fozzie, right? How do Citadels interact with these things? How do fax machines interact? How do subcaps deal with fax machines? How well do the Titan Amazing Doomsday work? The Shotgun Doomsday, how much impact does that have now that the signature radius bug has been fixed? The answer is that they don't really work all that well against subcaps at all. But there's just been this interesting process of this war in this last week where you're seeing all these new tactics getting tested out one way or the other. And I think it's pretty curious to see. I mean, it was interesting now because you can actually jam. Like, E-War now works on Siege Dreads, on Bastion Mode Marauders, and on Triage fax machines. Previously speaking, they were completely E-War immune, and now you have a situation where they are mostly E-War immune, but depending upon the amount of mathematics you bring to bear, they can break that shit up. Let's see, Mittens keeps getting louder. Oh my god.
I fixed it now, so you shouldn't be too loud. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. You bring up capitals with Citadels. We learned this yesterday. We were doing I took out a Confessor fleet yesterday just to see, I wanted to see what Horde would do when we showed up with 100 Confessors. And they formed up their standard caracals, but it took them like an hour to form, so I decided to fuck around. And we were 110 kilometers off the Citadel's undock. A Revelation dropped into siege, and one shot 3 Confessors back to back to back. at 110 kilometers because the hull damage is like 2,500 DPS. It's disgusting. But with
you combine that with Scorch,
Scorch and their fit, they can hit to 120 kilometers, and they lock like a battleship. So they just lock up two things, blap blap. Lock up two things, blap blap. And because they're on a Citadel, unless you have a serious fleet that's going to drop into the Citadel's gun range, which is the AoE gun and the targeted guns and all the AoE stuff that Citadels bring, and the fleet that's sitting on the Citadel of 100 guys, well, then you're not going to touch that Dread. So the Dread's untanked. And so that's what happened yesterday. It was disgusting.
I see. You can use... So basically you can use a zero-tank Blap Dread.
Right. On a Citadel on dock.
Covered under... Really?
Completely covered by the guns and the power of a Citadel.
Right.
So the only way you're going to get to that Dread is you have to pretty much risk your entire fleet. Because not only
genius. That's
because
really good.
Horde parks like hundreds of frigates on it too. So they just wait for you to come in. It's like a Venus flytrap. You come in, they match scram you, and then they turn on all the guns and watch kill mills appear.
So that's one of the things that we're seeing here in terms of like tactics laboratories and things like that is many Citadels have been going down in flames because at least they're incredibly vulnerable in that first 15 minutes. Goonswarm spammed like 9 Citadels down. We lost 6 of them on a test that we did. When did we do that? Was that on Monday?
Monday,
or was that? Yeah, it was around earlier on in the week.
Yeah,
like earlier in the week we did that. And there was this big thing about how like goons have lost all their Citadels. You can expect to see more Citadel spam everywhere, but what we're seeing across the board is that essentially the onlining process of these things is the time where they're most vulnerable, which is that 15 minutes where you can just kill them as long as you have a fleet there and there's nobody there. They just pop like that. Once they go up, they're a lot harder to deal with because of vulnerability windows and stuff like that. But what I think is fascinating here is that you are seeing this very rapid iteration of tactics being used on all sides in these wars. Citadels are essentially stations, right? So if your enemy has a Citadel, you are not necessarily required to deal with it at all, right? Nothing is forcing you onto the Citadel. But if you want to blow it up, I think that you'll see with the Fortizars, which is the type that has the point defense system, that's fantastic because what you're talking about is if you put enough the weakness of Citadels, right? This is the thing, and the reason why I'm like obsessing on this now is that I think it's really interesting. Is a Citadel's weakness in terms of game balance currently is they're all really weak in dealing with subcaps. Right, they're actually really good in blowing up capital ships. Right, the way that you can set up the Citadel weaponry and the way that you fit them. There's a couple tricks that you can use to make sure that they just obliterate capitals. But they're really bad with subcaps. And what we're seeing here with the Fortizar, with the point defense system and the tethering mechanic, is that you can have a completely untanked anti-subcap group of dreadnoughts parked there during your vulnerability window. And so, you park, 3 or 4 revelations, and they can kill things that quickly. They either shoot the Citadel when it's vulnerable, or they shoot the revelations. Well, yeah.
It goes even worse. So PL dropped a Fortzar, 1,000 kilometers off 93PI gate this week. So speaking of Fortzars, whatever you want to call them. And then they use carriers on that undock. Because of the way carrier fighter mechanics work now, you can have your carriers kind of move on their own, grid-wide. And so they move them all the way to the gate, tell them to orbit the gate. And now they're 1,000 kilometers from a Stargate with large T2 bubbles, and their carriers insta-lock things at 1,000 kilometers because there's no restriction on how far you can lock, and their fighters just engage. So now they're sitting on top of a Citadel. They can't really be touched because the Citadel's gunned, and you have 2 or 3 carriers in a Citadel with fighters that can kill frigates and destroyers and cruisers and pretty much instantly.
One of the things that we have discovered, though, in this sort of tactical laboratory of war, and this is the part, there are a lot of things that really suck about Fozzie, right? In terms of both the enemy has dealt with this, we have dealt with this, whatever. But the Citadel expansion, a lot of the things we've seen that are unrelated to Fozzie, right? The new capital changes, which were designed by CCP Larrikin and his team, and what Nullarbor and his team did with Citadels. The gameplay around these interactions has been fascinating. Like seeing these fleets clash, seeing these changes, shaking that aspect of the game up, has been far more interesting than the back and forth of actual Fozzie, because another thing that we've had this week that is interesting is the introduction of did we do this last week, or was it within this week, where we just started using clown shoes for everything?
That was this week, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think we started testing it last week. I don't think we formalized the doctrine and published it in the last 7 days.
Cloud shoes. Can you talk about cloud shoes for us? Are you still here?
Yeah, clown shoes.
Jay doesn't interrupt people like we do. So Jay,
clown shoes are industrial ships,
right?
With super high passive regen because of all their low slots. And we also added drakes because you can actually fight things with a drake with rapid light missiles. They're quite hilarious for hacking. It takes like 3 or 4 dudes to kill one. So you can just go out and Natosis.
Let's not forget the dishonor drones because
yeah.
I call ECM drones, like I saw that somewhere from some random like solo PvPer that he called E-War drones dishonor drones, and I just think that's hilarious. And yes, my webcam keeps doing all this really weird fucked up stuff. I have no idea why.
We're not worried about it.
That's what she said. But so yeah, the clown shooting thing has been fantastic. I mean, Jay was pioneering it before we published the doctrine, but like we have a system where in this sob system, the most optimal way to hack a constellation at a go, because it is a constellation battle space, is to essentially use a combination of interceptors, a few recon ships, just a handful, like 5 or 6, and then either T1 industrials with passive tanks, or at a expensive level, a Drake with rapid lights on it. So it's just nuts. What's been your biggest adventure with a clown shoot so far, Jay? Because you were the guy who were really out there testing it with a Nereus yourself.
I managed to I was hacking 6RCQ a couple weeks ago, and all I can see right now is Boat's massive B in the way.
Well, he's got the hat now, because people were asking where the hat is, and so that's good.
Oh, okay.
Can you put the hat on?
Yeah, I'll put the hat on. Hang on. I was enjoying the...
Yeah, I was hacking 6RCQ, and like these 2 maledictions landed on me, and they just couldn't break me. And eventually they brought in like a Stratios, a few more Falcons, and there was like 10 dudes on me, and I was still tanking them. But only 1 malediction had a point on me. So as the cycle finished and the system went to reinforce, I jammed the malediction with my drones and just warped off. And they were pretty mad about that.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if you win, so if you find a clown shoe and you start attacking it, if you succeed in killing the clown shoe somehow, congratulations, you got it costs nothing. Like I think the total cost of a clown shoe is
40 million-isk industrial.
40 million-isk industrial. But if you lose, like God forbid the clown shoe happens to have a point on it, or the fly swatters show up and the defense fleet turns up, is you lost trying and failing to take down an industrial. So it's pretty hilarious. It's pretty humiliating for people who are trying to go after it. The point I was about to make, actually, I want to jump back to the fighter discussion with Citadels very briefly here. I was talking about how I really like the interactions and like the way that you're seeing the tactics play out from the interactions between Capitals and Citadels and all these things in this patch that are good, as you increasingly see people like turning away from the mechanics of Fozzie Sob and finding ways around them, which is another thing we'll talk about in a bit. But one of the things that has come out in terms of fighters is that the new fighters are very good against subcapitals. However, it turns out that they are extremely weak to anything involving ECM. So what we are seeing across the board here is ECM bursts being used against fax machines. You're seeing racial ECM turning up across the board in sword fleets and in siege fleets. Sword fleets are interceptor fleets that the Imperium uses. Siege fleets are just obviously stealth bombers, Kamalots, which have E-War slots. And also in terms of dealing with carriers now, the fact that it's relatively easy to disable a fighter group with the ECM is something that has only recently been discovered and used on the field. And you start seeing these best practices percolate to the top of the blocks, essentially going, oh, this is the counter to this, and then it rapidly just spreads out across all of the game. And it's this really interesting, intense process of who can figure out how the system works first. And that's how you end up with things like clown shoes and T1 interceptors and all this other crazy-ass crap going everywhere.
So I don't want to interrupt you for a second, but someone said in chat, it's wonderful, they go, someone talking about PvP that doesn't actually PvP. I PvP every day. You see it on here when I stream 4-hour ops or however many hours we do ops on stream, and we do lots of PvP. PvP is irrelevant in Fozzie Sob, right? You don't have to have PvP skills. A day 1 newbie in Pandemic Horde came into Eve from RE.
The screenshot yesterday.
Yeah,
on Reddit. There was 2 guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, 1 second. He comes into RE when they were fighting SMA, when they were still fighting for Fade. He comes in from RE. He gets a brand new character. He spends 1 day training cloaking. He grabs an Entosis cloaking frigate. He gets escorted into a system. He AFK camps for 3 days. He Entosis once, died, and then got a conversation, I think it was from Jay, where he's like, yeah, I'm done with this game. This really sucks. So you don't have to be a PvP person. You don't have to even be elite to do Fozzie Sob. You just have to be told where to go and like a quick 30-second spiel of how to do it. And that's I think the thing with Fozzie Sob that breaks it is that CCP really wanted a Sob system from Dominion to Fozzie Sob that made it possible for newbies, made it possible for smaller alliances, but they took it so far that a big alliance can make 30-man little alliances of brand new characters and go invade a region. And if they're not paid attention for that week, their whole region goes away, right? And so I think that's a thing to think about, is that PvP doesn't have to be elite anymore, right? Because you can ignore all the elite PvP guys and do hacking all day. Horde does it, we do it. It doesn't really matter how good you are at PvP anymore. It doesn't matter how many skill points you have anymore, because my Rifter can do it, you know?
That's one of the things about this, so Jay was about to say something here, and I want to... Jay, what were you about to say on this topic before I run my mouth?
There's a screenshot yesterday on Reddit of a guy playing Slithero whilst hacking 3 systems simultaneously, all in T1 fit slashers. And that just sums up some Fozzie stuff right there.
Yeah.
That one picture.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I talked about on the Sunday Fireside Chat, which there's a VOD of on our channel. You can go dig that up. And if you want to look at this, you can see in the last 20 minutes of that broadcast, I go through this whole strategic discussion of how the underpinnings of FozzieSoft work and where the flaws are. And that's exactly what you guys are pointing out. What you're talking about here is essentially the material threshold of war, right? Where material threshold is, in order to be able to make war in Dominion and to make war in the old system of POSSOV, you had to essentially ante up some sort of assets, right, in the form of a capital fleet or a battleship fleet, or later on the Fountain War you saw us invent siege fleet to artificially lower the material threshold necessary to make war. But if you want to be all traditional MMO about it, it's kind of like a DPS check in a raid or something. You have to be able to have a dread fleet, or you have to have a BS fleet, or at least be able to get enough stealth bombers thrown at a target to participate in the SOV gameplay. And what FozzieSoft has done is completely eliminate the material threshold. In other words, like Boat is saying, you can be a one-day-old newbie, you can do this. And that also, this changes a lot of the strategy. One of the biggest, we've seen a couple of really interesting announcement and strategic shifts in the war of Sobless aggression in the last week, essentially. I love calling it that because not only is it accurate, but it pisses people off. I think also the Hobo War, which is something that...
Hobo War, yeah.
Well, Dreamer Targaryen did that, and he's been doing these amazing war updates every day, and he's been calling it, the Hobo Wars. But anyway, whatever you want to call it, one of the things that we've seen in the last few days is increasingly on both sides, in the territory in Pureblind and in Fade, SOV will be attacked one way or the other, a TCU will be destroyed, and then a SOV system will just go unclaimed for hours, right? As in, people are attacking SOV but not even bothering to put down TCUs when it's taken from Goonswarm, or vice versa. It's just okay, well, TCUs don't matter. And previously speaking, for the last couple of months, you saw a lot more of a intensity about bothering to put down SOV. Mm-hmm. The next layer of this was something that in Goonswarm we had been working on, a lot of our allies have been working on, and obviously Horde has been thinking about this too, because Gobbins did this big announcement thing talking about what he calls ground theft SOV, what we call the apiary system. We haven't done a big public kerf about this, but the idea that the underlying SOV system may be something that you can completely escape from in terms of using mass citadels, right? So Gobbins' big announcement was they attacked what we call the cock pocket in Fade, which had been a territory that Goonswarm had taken. Yeah, because around Cade, Hack,
yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, that's a great name.
So they had alarm clocked for a couple days to take those stations back from us, which they did. And alarm clocking in Ghost Time is something that cannot easily be stopped. The enemy had shifted their vulnerability windows to match ours, so we would have to do both offense and defense simultaneously. Doesn't work very well, and so we're going to see changes soon in terms of when we attack and when we defend. However, Gobbins then comes out and he's like, hey, we can actually just put citadels up or only take stations. The first layer of it is to reduce FozzieSoft to only taking stations, right? So you have somebody else's TCU, you have somebody else's iHub, and you take the station out from under them. The next iteration on that is actually to not even bother and just spam citadels in that system, right? So you end up with sort of a kind of like a cuckoo's nest. You can go into somebody's space in the system, and if you can get citadels up around that space or near enough to that space, you can rat and mine and make money and kill them PvP-wise without actually needing to touch the underlying SOV system at all, because So especially once Citadels get more upgrades, when they have more of a market and contracting function added into them, which is something that the market function is in with the Fortizars, but we're thinking that they'll have the contracting function added by the end of the summer. I think that you are now seeing many combatants in this war increasingly going, why are we even doing this? Let's just use Citadels. Let's find ways around the Aegis-Sov gameplay.
See, here's the thing that's interesting, too, is about the cockpocket. Gobbins made this great post. When I say great post, is for him a great grandstanding post, where he came out like Hitler on stage to tell everyone how great it's going, when in reality they haven't really done much. And what he came out and said was, look, I metagamed you guys so hard, I made you rat up all these systems, and then we take the stations, and now we have all these high ADMs, you can't take our stations back. But out of all of his posts, he forgets to mention that at the little tiny text at the bottom, at the very bottom of the screen, it says, Goons self-destruct all iHubs and TCUs, all Sov goes back to Sov 1. So it's not like his plan has some grand idea of where he can hold these stations forever and keep us from doing anything. All we'd have to do is press a button, and then those stations go back to Sov 1.
I mean, I think that's, Gobbins has historically, like he did this when he was trying to do this whole Cloud Ring thing, right? So he'll claim that something that happens is a big ruse cruise. The reality of how Fade those stations were lost is that Darkness alarm clocked and sent forces from Declan to assist with Pandemic Horde to take them, and we didn't really form any major defense because we realized that in Ghost Time it was not going to be easy to defend them, and we can simply take them back, especially because once we shift our vulnerability timers, our Ghost Time when Horde is vulnerable will simply be a territory that we can attack ourselves. So Ghost Time will no longer be on pure defense. The idea, the point that Gobbins is trying to do there is to try to convince us to go, we'll just destroy our TCUs and our iHubs because you made a post on Reddit. The reality is that the underlying Sov for both sides is always shit to defend. Defense is miserable. Even if there's a relatively high ADM, you can get the initial hacks through, and then you have to turn up to defend it, and then you get ganked and you get run around. And that's why you're seeing, it's kind of like in, I always mispronounce this, what is it, Aikido, whatever. Nobody wants to throw the first punch in Aikido because it's a defender-biased martial art. As opposed to Fozzie Sov, nobody wants to be the defender. Everybody wants to be the one attacking. So it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Here's an amazing topic. I've been spying on Horde now since its iteration. Since we really saw them go at SMA and really became this free-for-all, bring everyone in, and Porkbutt advised me about how you could do AWOC sitting there so easy. I've been spying on them, and it's been hilarious. Their IRC daily is... It went from, okay, we have to do this one fleet, we'll send a ping, and we'll form a fleet, and they'll ping IRC, and then everyone forms up to... I believe during the Red Pen thing this week, it was 50 pings a day, all for the one op that was going to happen to hit the station. And it got to a point where people were like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is fucking boring. Defense ops. It got to a point where there are guys that were actively FC and have burnt out. They've lost 3 of their active original 4. Travis Kakir, I think, is the only original active FC in the Fade area. And now they have all these other people coming in, like Ivers Diaz from PL, and a couple people coming in, stepping up to take over because all those other guys said, fuck it, we're done. We're done chasing interceptors. We're done chasing hacking fleets. We're done having to form up and not have fun. And even so much so, Gobbins is now restricted their FCs. They can't do big fleets. They're doing Confessors, which is what we do. Caracals, what we do. And T1 frigates instead of interceptors because some of them don't have interceptor skills because they were told to train Feroxes. And he's actually yelling at FCs that take out Feroxes, that try to take out battleships. If you try to take out anything bigger than a Caracal, he gets upset at you. And it's changing the way even the mighty Pandemic Horde, who was going to do whatever they wanted because they didn't care, the way they're playing is the exact same as ours and everyone else. It's frigates and Caracals and small shit, inexpensive, cheap shit that can throw at Fozzie off.
One of the things about this is it really does just come down to organizational structure and willpower, right? And I think I want to ask Jay about this because Jay has been, like you, out there Though, of course, in chat, this is actually one of the things that's useful about having a radicalized echo chamber is that you see in chat, you see a lot of people talking about like how goons aren't undocking, how we can't form fleets and things like that. So you'll have these kill mails from just a few hours ago where Jay himself is just like obliterating a massive, like flash forming a fleet, killing a fax machine or two, and then giving everybody the finger. If people are convinced that we are dead and gone and that we don't undock, that means that there is no problem with Horde, and Mittens is just lying on the show, and so why bother trying to help them? But Jay has actually a lot of insight into what's going on with the Horde FC team because he's been fighting a bunch of them, and as Boat has. And I think that there's been some chit chat back and forth. Jay, do you want to talk a little bit about what is actually happening within Horde's Skirmish Commander group?
Real quick, we have a new subscriber. What the fuck, Repo? Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for obeying the Hypno Kid.
Ooh.
Shekels. Okay, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Okay, I've spoken to a few of their FCs, and the impression I have is that Gobbins doesn't really want FC fleets himself that aren't guaranteed fights. So he'll be there for the big form-ups, which are guaranteed wins and whatever. But he won't do Intosis work. Travis Kakira won't do Intosis work. They'll send these newbie skirmish commanders out and tell them to go hack stuff. That's all the instruction they'll give them. If they whelp, then, well, he's not very nice to them, I guess, but...
Is it... I mean, I've heard this, like...
Wailord,
really? What happened?
Wailord, yeah, Wailord threatened to, like, isn't he biomass, or saying he's going to biomass his character, Jay, because he was told that if he let anything bigger than a character ever again, he'd be removed, and then he ended up saying, well, fuck you. Fuck you, and then he goes, fine, you're kicked. Go join Test, lol, 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 and Blacklisted. It's the first, I believe, Blacklisted original Horde member in Pandemic Horde history.
Did that actually? I mean,
according to his logs, he copy-pasted logs on Reddit. Wailord did.
I'm going to do my level best to draw Jay out because both Bode and I will run. Jay is so polite.
I'm trying to
Jay
will
not just interrupt us. Well, that's the thing is that you've got to be an asshole, and Jay is not
Jay.
an asshole. So Jay, can you please tell us what do you got over there? Like, what is happening, and why is it true that I've heard this, and I don't know whether this is true or not. Is it true that they essentially order a given skirmish commander to do a thing, instead of asking volunteers, you go do this op?
Oh yeah, from what I've seen from some of I've been talking to some of their skirmish commanders, and they've given me some logs or whatever. And it's very much been, okay, you're doing this op because you did this many ops today. So tomorrow you're going to do this Intosis work. And then someone will ping for a fun fleet or something, and there'll be no fun fleets until Intosis work is done.
Yeah, actually, the only fun fleets I've seen out of them has been from Honor FCs. Because they don't obey Goblins 100%. So an Honor FC will form a fun fleet, and then the P-Horde side will have to go hack and have to do it. And yeah, Jay, I don't know if you noticed this when you're out there, but I noticed that when they ping, it's very bland. We're going to go hack, guys. It's not like a target
Intosis op, then the comms. It's not like, hey, we're going to form up, we know we're going to go roaming or whatever. It's Intosis op, like alpha comms or whatever.
Do they have any kind of mentoring structure for the skirmish commanders? Do they because we fund our skirmish commanders, we pay them because the more ops they take and the more that they backseat other FCs, the more that they learn. Is there an actual system of I always screw up the phrase for this is pedagogy, I think is the way that you pronounce it.
I think it's pedagogy, yeah.
Yeah, well,
so I haven't seen anything like that. I know they did a contest recently for the most number of ops run, and I think the winner was given a skill injector. I think that was it.
What?
Yeah, they did a contest where the FC who run the most fleets in a month got a skill injector. That's the only sort of...
So, what, 500 million ISK, and that's it?
Yeah, I don't think he's even got it yet.
What's funny, too, it gets even better. And I know this is going to go into spin, and there's going to be arguments and stuff about this, but Horde got paid something close to 100 billion ISK by I1 ISK. And the first 30 billion was to go to skill books for newbies, because they proclaimed they had a lot of newbies and a lot of new people, so they need those skill books. And they get this 100 billion ISK over the months. And what does it go into? It went into a medium Citadel, a large Citadel, and Gobbins piggy bank. They don't pay their FCs. They don't pay their line members reimbursement because Gobbins doesn't believe in it. They don't even... sure, he'll buy free ships, but then those get relisted to goons. Goons will relist them. So.
Well, I mean, look, here's one of the things
it's
about, like,
great.
talking about... Sorry, Jay, you almost said something, and so I want you to keep saying something.
I just looked at the logs, and it was the winner, the person who ran the most fleets, got a Plex and a skill injector, and he hasn't received the skill injector yet.
1.5 bill.
They're giving, like 1.5 bill, I guess.
Okay,
so that's all they're giving out for their FCs.
Here's the thing about, like, this new system, and here's the thing about organization. So there's been an idea in EVE, and I hate it when people tell me that a thing can't be done, right? Like, that's usually a motivation for me to go try to do it.
The word can't! I love the word can't!
Well, you know, like, the directorate is so sick of this, because, like, if anybody says can't around me in Illuminati, I'll be like, don't put can't in my coffee. But one of the things that has been repeated over and over again is almost like a dogma is that you can't create FCs, right? You cannot make FCs. FCs just descend from the heavens magically and they are born. You can't train FCs. You can't set up a system to make FCs. And Jay Amazingness has actually been instrumental, him and the foundation from Regalin before him, in setting up a mentoring and training academy in Goonswarm to do whatever that we can to make life easier for SCs. Because, I mean, one of the things that we see in Fozzie is that SCs are critical. They're like your fucking NCOs. So, I mean, one of the things that we've begun doing that I was like, you know, we need to have more feedback. We need to have more doctrine involvement. We need to constantly be in touch with our guys on the ground. Is, you know, we have now like daily stand-ups at like 1800 and 1 o'clock Eve every day, where I will call all the skirmish commanders together and try to go over what we're doing every day. And when they're unhappy about something, like somebody's not putting PAP links in their fleets appropriately, or this, that, or the other thing, or this doctrine sucks and it needs to be changed. Why the fuck did you do this? You know, we do that every day. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it's just half an hour, but you have got to develop your skirmish commanders and have like backseating, like encouraging your guys to not just have an opt-out, you explain how the doctrine works, and then you get 3 or 4 other guys who want to learn to go in the command channel and learn from people who already know how to do it. That's the kind of structure that you need to develop future leadership, and you need to fund them such that like they're not, you know, you don't want your FCs ratting and mining. You want your FCs killing and learning and killing and learning and killing and learning. So
people are getting in chat, this favorite chat with the boat pap thing. So I got frustrated one day after like a 4-hour off, and I was like, okay, this is peacetime beforehand, and peacetime doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because we tend to take strat ops for face value and we're at war, so peacetime isn't relevant. And this one group of people, I think it was either Karma Fleet guy or something, just like lost his shit all over me for not getting him his PAP link, because he might not make his 1 required PAP link for the month as a Karma Fleet member. I told him to eat shit and that maybe he should undock in Citadel. So what the guy had done is he undocked from Citadel, came on the op for 10 minutes, died because he didn't listen, and then sat in the station for 3 hours. He goes, "Where's my fucking PAP link? Why haven't you give it to me?" So we have individuals that do that, and it just it grinds my gears. But anyways, one thing I want to talk about, this got brought up by someone in chat. He says PL realized a few years ago that they were the only big nullsec alliance of the big 3 that doesn't really have an external community. You know, NC is irrelevant right now because, you know, whatever. But that's true, and he said that they took over Reddit. And I think that's the case. You look at PL; they've taken what we've done with SA, with TMC, and they're slowly starting to do that themselves. They have Reddit that they use with. They have admins in Reddit that are fanboys of PL, like Durherder and others. Gorski Kart in PL. So they've kind of taken over our EVE. They have CZ, which is publishing nothing but EVE articles in mass, and they're hiring all these writers, which is what TMC started off as. And even as early as a week ago, I was told that CZ is getting involved in streaming. They're wanting to gobble up streamers that went to FanFest that do EVE only and are going to pay them or get them involved with PL. Like, the deal is, you stream for us, you can join PL. And that's what's happening with that. And so they're starting to take the idea that maybe they need to have, because it's almost like a PL dream. It was a Bob dream back in the day, is to have 5,000 to 10,000 people that you could just point and say, go do this for me, be my meat shield. Test was supposed to be that for PL, but Test failed cascaded when Buddha took over. Brave Newbies was going to be that, but then Brave Newbies told them to get fucked. We're Reddit, we do what we want, you know, and the hive mind spoke, and they just did what they wanted, right? So PL killed them, rather than PL training them into being better, PL just killed them off. And now you have Pandemic Horde, which is the third iteration of the Reddit, and you can see PL finally slowly getting the idea that, yeah, maybe we need to do this. So it's an interesting way.
Place where they can literally set the rules, which is what RE is. Horde, they have to commit to wiping Pandemic Horde's ass forever. If we don't break or go away, they have to defend Sov. They have to somehow create these institutions, and what they're trying to do is somehow make a meritocracy, kind of like what the Imperium is, out of nowhere, led by goblins with no middle layer of institutional instruction at all, and just hope it'll happen by magic. And it doesn't work that way. And that's why you're seeing all this stress at the FC level. Speaking of stress, actually, I want to change the subject here for a little bit. We have something really kind of interesting that happened. So, actually, this isn't that bad of a segue because it's about org creation, too. So, as we have been adapting to the tactics of Fozzie and the new things that have come through with Citadels and the capital changes, about 3 weeks ago, we in the Imperium changed our tactics, and we realized that what we really should be doing is attacking the enemy's willpower at every turn. So you've seen me talking about what we call weaponized sadism, where it's not just about weaponized boredom, it's about making sure that every touch point that the enemy has with us is something that is a miserable experience for them as players of a game called EVE Online. They can go fight somebody else, or if they fight us in any capacity, in any way, their willpower is degraded. And that's necessary because, like I was saying earlier, the material threshold is something you can't attack in Fozzie. You will never be able to prevent any enemy from making Sov war in the system because you can do it with newbie ships with Entosis links, right? There's just so low, it's not like you can blow up the enemy's capital fleet and they can't stop attacking Sov. So it's all willpower all the time. So, we saw us optimize our ratting ships such that they're obnoxious to come after. I've never really bothered optimizing ratting. Why would you do that in any other system? But now you need to. Optimize our hack fleets with clown shoes. We've optimized our guardian ships with this drama fleet thing we're doing. And the oppression fleets, of course, have been getting better and better. But now we have, we want to basically get AFK cloaking and ratter ganking optimized. And we were going to copy stunt Flores. Like, explicitly, The idea was we were going to create a squad that was going to take Stunt Flores' methods, because Stunt Flores, who's in chat here, actually, I don't know whether you say Stunt Flores or Flores, whatever.
Jay, just say it, you nerd. Hold on, don't be interrupt. Don't stop talking to the chat, Jay. Speak up. You broadcasted that, and I about strangled you. When you said that, I was just like, oh my god, did he just broadcast that?
This is great. This guy is so mad in chat.
TL let him be mad. Hey, let him. I enjoyed that.
We don't like attacks on people in real life. I'm so sorry you failed to destroy goons. You will continue to fail to destroy goons. And by making you bleed, it's relatively easy to destroy the identity of any kind of elite raiding guild. But Stunt and Exif Baka.
Okay, so back to Stunt real quick. Hold on.
What?
I want to hear Jay's opinion on this, because, see, Jay is a Reddit person. Like, he goes to Reddit a lot, I think. Not so much so that look, I'm not saying I'm saying Jay understands their culture a lot better than probably you or I, and I want to hear what Jay thinks, because this stunt thing is very interesting. And I might have just stole your thunder here, but stunt goes from like everyone wanting stunt unbanned to weekly threads about unbanning stunt to hi, I'm stunt, I'm joining goons, to 1,000 fucking comments of unban the ban on Stunt. Get rid of him, throw him out! What the fuck is he doing? Holy shit!
They were really angry. It was beautiful.
And then K-Color made this great cartoon where it's like a picture of a guy holding a sign that says, I hate CCP, I hate downtime, I hate this. And then it's this nice, lovely girl with a heart shirt going, oh, stop being so angry. You can go to Reddit and you'll have friends and you should be smiling more. And then she goes, is there anything you do like? And he goes, I like goons. And she like explodes in rage. It's hilarious. And I think about that with the stunt thing. So
if you're gonna ask Jay a question,
so Jay, what do you think? What do you think about how fickle Reddit was with the stunt thing? Like free stunt and then unfree within like a day of him announcing he's joining us.
It was hilarious. People got so angry, and I don't really know why. I'm like, does it really make a difference if he's in? Because he's still going to go around Declan killing radders no matter what. Like, even like if Goonswarm ever takes Declan back and we start radding there again, he's just going to drop Alliance and start doing it again. So
I think here is what we see, and I need to explain this for some people who don't know who Stunt is. So Stunt Flores is an expert at solo PvP. And one of the things that is interesting about Fozzie is that, again, interesting not necessarily in a good way, though I'm sure that Fozzie will try to say that this is actually a good thing, is because there is no material threshold, the only thing that matters is blowing up the enemy's willpower. So again, optimizing ratting ships and also working on oppression and also working on how to solo hunt and cloak. You essentially have to turn the game into a crucible of misery for the opposing side. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that, at least if you have a creative and sadistic person behind it. So we looked at what Stunt was doing. What he was an expert in is he destroyed, I think in 1 month before his first account got banned, he had destroyed 49 billion ISK of Goonswarm assets solo with Astradios running around in Declan. And what we were going to do, he came back to the game and started owning face again just, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And we were looking into this, and it was like, okay, well, we need more cloaking oppression. We need not just oppression around O1Y, which is the population stage of our enemy, but everywhere needs to suffer, because that's what Fozzie's Hub is about weaponizing sadism. So we send a ping, an interest ping, like, here's Astradios, would we want to have a squad to do this? We want to do this in an organized way, just like we organized our solo Sov hackers and started doing all this other shit. And then it turned out that Stunt had been working out with our Black Ops guys already, and that he had friends, because apparently at one point in the far past he was actually in Goonswarm. So he and I started talking, and instead of just having a squad that was going to imitate Stunt, we have him now in Goonswarm, and he is personally mentoring our guys in using these Astros and Stratioses to ruin everything. And we are, Elysium named them the Stunt Doubles. They might rename themselves when they become an official squad, but that's really like the final layer of oppression, is any enemy. And this is a thing that takes time, right? When you have a new strategy, when you completely take any past system in Dominion and post-Sov, which would involve attacking the material as well as the will, and you remove the material entirely and it's only about will, you have to revise everything, absolutely everything. But once that's done, you sort of have a system that scales between any enemy you go to. If there's a population center, you oppress it. You surround that area with people who are using stunt double tactics to make sure that riding and mining is impossible. You layer on top of that everything else we've been doing. You make sure that they can't go after your ratters. You ensure that all of your fleets that they go after for hacking operations are miserable to attack because they all have cloaks and they're like industrials and interceptors everywhere. If they use caps, they have bombers dropped on them. If they try to do things individually, they have bombers dropped on them. It's just like, it's basically knife twisting on a galactic scale. Everybody take a shot.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about the stunting too is that out of all the member corps or allies, like you get member corps to join Goons, and sometimes they're European, sometimes they're Russian, and they come on Mumble and they hang out by themselves and kind of do their own thing. And it was a nice change because we were in the middle of, I think we were playing Cards Against Humanity. It was like 10 of us last night, and all of a sudden Stunt just pops in and it's like, hey, how's it going? Can I hang out here? It just starts talking about everything. It's just like, wait a minute, you come on and socialize with people, and you don't just like yeah. And so he starts telling us about his Declan thing, and we I think the question was asked by a Theta guy, what kind of money were you making? Was this sustainable? And he goes, on a good day, I was making between $1 billion and $1.5 billion profit, even if I died every day. So what he would do is he said he would go into Declan. He would harass us in Declan, kill a bunch of ratters, take all the profits, put it in his cargo hold. When his cargo hold got full, he would roll Thera holes until he got a good Thera hole, and then take everything into Thera, and then take it on to Jita. And he would just come back out of Thera. And so he would always make money. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Well, he didn't really have... I mean, the thing is that his dream, at least as he described to me, and of course, he could be lying, whatever. I don't think he is. But he told me when we started having this discussion, he was like, well, if we had just 3 or 4 more people doing what he does, that he could shut down an entire region. And so when I sent a ping as an interest check for the stunt doubles, and by the way, this is there's a sticky thread in the war room on goonfleet.com for those of you who are in the Imperium and watching this, and I encourage you, if you're interested in learning how to solo PvP and cloaking like an asshole in a way to make life worse for our enemies as players of the game, check out the thread. There's a fantastic guide that Stunt has written, and you can join Stunt Doubles at conference.goonfleet.com for coordination. We're going to be turning it into a proper proto squad if it takes off. Right. But it already had, because that was the thing, is once we sent the ping, even before Stunt joined the Alliance, we had 98 people in a Jabber channel. And it turned out that people like Jay, like K-Color, like Cuddle Time actually ganked Lex Arson. Lex Arson, leader of Tissue, was ratting in an Ishtar, and he got nuked stunt style by Cuddle Time, which was hilarious.
Yeah, he's trying to bring up ADMs. We only have about 5 minutes left, so I wanted to remind you, because we were getting kind of on and on and on.
I think the stunt thing is awesome, so I just run my mouth about it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. We can keep going over too if we need to. So
but we already had the point was when we got this together, like Stunt was saying, you can really ruin an entire region doing this with just like 5 or 6 more people. And then once we got everybody together in a channel, it had turned out that we already had 5 or 6 people, including Jay and K-Color and several others in Black Ops, who had begun to do this already, but not in a coordinated, focused way. So they would be running around using his methods, but not in a targeted way at a given enemy. And now Fade and Declan are essentially going to become hell zones, more than they already are, just covered in a group of people, some of whom will die, of course, as they learn.
I don't really
do this.
Oh, sorry. I don't really care for this word too much, but I think the way to describe the way Stunt works and the way certain individuals, including maybe myself, is weaponized autism, right? It's taking someone who is very passionate about one single thing, very focused on that one single thing, and then releasing them to a group of hundreds of people that they can then teach to do the same thing. And since he only focuses on doing this all day, every day, like all he does is PvP in Declan or Pure Blind or Fade, now he can teach everyone else how to do it. So it's almost like if you could imagine this great movie quote. I've been called this before, Muad'Dib, teaching the weirding way to the,
yes.
to the people. And then those people go and teach others the weirding way. Now you've got thousands of Fremen roaming around in Pure Blind and Declan, liberating the place.
So what you're saying is that Baka is a killing word, right?
Yes,
is that
Baka is a killing word.
Baka is a killing word.
And the spy spiders are Vexers and Ishtars.
Oh my god!
And
okay.
the worm is the Stratios.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I do this.
Well, I mean, I prefer weaponized sadism because I'm evil. I think that weaponized autism is a little bit dodgy because these guys are not like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I would agree.
But yeah, no, it is interesting when you take. So this is one of the things that we do that confuses people a lot when they're facing off against Goonswarm and the Imperium as a whole. So we'll take an idea that's good, and then we build these institutions and structures to scale it across everything. Which is why in war it is sort of like the tortoise and the hare, is that we are slower than everybody else because we deal with vast amounts of people, and then you build a structure over time to do something that was done at a small scale, and then it just sits there and it lasts, and it's much more effective in the long term. And that's why wars don't end in a month. Our enemies all think that wars are over in a month, and we're like, okay, guys, we're done revising our doctrines. We kind of figured out some of these tactics. We're building some new orgs. Let's do this. Idiots. All right, well, we are almost out of time. Jay, what do you want to talk about? Let's just shut up and let Jay talk about something, because fuck.
I don't really mind. I don't really have like a topic in mind to talk about.
You're too busy like owning fax machines. Oh, we do have a. You go. Say something, please.
Oh yeah, I'm just chilling in station, talking to some Horde people that I like to talk to every now and then.
Talking to Horde
skirmish commanders.
Well, if you
all the Horde skirmish commanders that are forced to do Tosis ops every day.
God, it is an interesting thing because like I thought that would be bullshit. Like if skirmish commanders are really critical, and I don't know, whatever, they're not supporting them, that's their loss, that's why they're burning out so much. There are actually a couple of pieces of news that we're going to talk about in the last 2 minutes, I guess, before we stop. Horde, speaking of mistakes Gobbins has made, because they are totally victorious and everything is winning, and Goons are totally going to break at any given moment, and if we just post a bunch of Reddit fanfic, the war will be over and Goons will declare that they've lost and the Imperium will shatter, blah, blah, blah. They've abandoned Quarius, which is really dumb, because they're winning so much in Fade that they're going to give up the one area that they could have rest and relaxation in, which was UBHO. So Horde is now completely committed to Fade, to O1Y, which is a damn shame that it's now covered in oppression fleets and stunt doubles, or Hornet Squad as the anime masters prefer to refer to them. And Yeah, so they could previously go rat and mine back in Quirius to make money and get away from the misery of life in Fade, and now they're just all in Fade because that's a brilliant plan.
I think that was a mistake on Goblin's part. As much as
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure that goons are, we're not undocking, we're not fighting, everything is doomed, and putting all their eggs in one basket and then like trolling their FCs into biomassing is a brilliant idea. And what could possibly go wrong?
An interesting point right now is that there was some irrelevant low-sec people I've never heard of camping Sarin, and now PL's kind of taken up the mantle of camping. But it's not even PL, it's PL and MOA. And their valued ally, that is MOA, has been getting assistance from PL more so than I think Pandemic Horde has.
That's true, because at least MOA's space is like right by X7.
And so, an example, yesterday, I was harassing Pandemic Horde. Not a single person showed up for 2 hours. I went to MOA, like through MOA's staging system. Genevieve put a ping out to NC Dot as they were watching my stream and instantly formed. We camped ourselves into a station for like an hour, and then Jarnobi, one of the NC Dot FCs, started spamming, haha, what's it like to get owned, bitch? And it's just like a chat. And it was just really funny because we ran away and lost like 5 confessors. And he was just so smug in chat about how him and MOA tag teamed us and their valued ally. And it's just, it's so enjoyable to see
Elite
PL
PvP
people that they would consider trash just a year ago,
Well, they're going to have to stay there. I mean, that's the thing, is that PL and NC Dot are going to have to stay here forever. And their gameplay, which we control, because essentially what we get to do here, ironically enough, because that's what Bob would say to us, is that we control your game now. But you see in the frustration and the anger is that we have the ability to provide the content. Like we, in many ways, the war that we choose to fight and the way that we choose to fight it, we get to determine what is put on the field, which is why you see so much anger about Surge Fleets, so much anger about Siege Fleets, so much anger about goons not undocking, and all this other sort of crap. And I am delighted to see these supposedly elite entities that are nomadic and always get to, normally in their world, they get to choose the kind of content they have. They get to go where they want, to do what they want, to keep them here and bang pots and pans in 93 PI and come to the Sarin and undock and lose carriers to Jay and crew. And essentially have to spend their time, due to the nature of the SOB system, they will have to spend months wiping the asses of people that they hold in contempt, because the nature of an elite entity is only being the best. They're not meritocracies. They've got to be the best of the best. So if they want to stop being who they are, if they want to cease being PL and NC Dot, I would love to see that. I would love to see them put down roots and try to either defend these entities forever or hold some SOV here themselves and try to defend. That's why you don't see them putting out TCUs after the last few times. This Jesus.
Sorry,
what are you giggling about now?
You'll see it in about 2 seconds. There's a donation coming in from Shira.
Oh, God.
He says we should have tranny trade fleets. Our enemies think they are weak and engage, but then BAM! It's a dude! And dicks in their butt. Or kicks their butt, sorry. Either way is fitting. Thanks for your donation.
I have nothing to say about that. But apparently goons are, according to chat, goons are getting owned 24/7 while also not undocking. I do really enjoy seeing the angry people in chat because we do get a sort of a good live feedback. All of our super caps are trapped in 93 PI, according to chat. We don't undock, and also we're getting owned all the time. And all of our Citadels are dead. Every single goon Citadel, everyone, we are breaking. All of our directors have defected. People who were not ever directors apparently defected.
That was asked to me yesterday. It was like someone asked me this question. He goes,
"There are no real goons. They're all going to join the Schism Corp or whatever."
Jay might like this, and I know Marana does. So the question was asked to me: what happened to your chief logistics officer that moved all of your assets around Eve, Angelique? Why did she rage quit in such a grandeur fashion if goons are fine and everything's fine? And so, Jay, I want your opinion. What do you think was the loss of losing the Grand GSO Ultra?
Well, first of all, they weren't a director. I mean,
well, I want to hear Jay on this because I think he has a very wonderful opinion.
Just the Angelique Dushman thing. Was I personally do not like her. I'm not a fan of her posting. I'm not a fan of. Like, she had this logistics service, and instead of actually moving things herself, she charged people that wanted to work for her, and that's how she made her money. She's now realized that, okay, the volume in Saranen, because we've got like 3 or 4 jump freighter services now. She's not getting all the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And Horde don't have any logistics services. They have like maybe one guy, and he's like way overpriced. So she's just gone there and set up her own logistics service, and now she's moving things for Pandemic Horde at incredibly jacked up rates.
Oh yeah, she's charging them almost triple the rate that she was charging us to move things from Cheetah to Pandemic Horde space.
That's because we have competition, right?
Right, but they have none. And even if they did, she's trying to do what she did with us. There was a famous phrase from her where she tried to monopolize GSOL and use GSOL as her own like moneymaker. And then when she was told no, she kind of threw a fit about it. And now you have the same thing happening with Pandemic Horde, where she's basically going, "I'm going to do all your logistics, and you're going to like it." It's great.
I mean, the thing about this is like I read what our enemies say, because that's what you have to do, is you figure out what your enemy thinks in order to get inside their heads. And it was interesting because they really tried to make Angelique into a thing. She wasn't a director. She was never a director. She ran a jump freighter service and I think was a line member in GSOL. And she did do good work to help evacuate Declan, and that's peachy, right? Like, everybody contributed to the cause, and then she flipped sides. But what was interesting about that was, one, the Redditors dubbing her like our queen of logistics, because that's what they wanted to believe. But was really interesting to me was that she has been posting on Something Awful and is outraged that she was banned from our services. This is one of the things that I really don't understand about the martyr complexes and the victimhood of a lot of the people who go fuck goons, because they need attention, because martyrs need attention. And I suppose we are giving her attention right now, which is bad in theory, but whatever, who gives a shit? They need attention like a fish needs water. If you don't give a martyr an attention, they're up on a cross and nobody notices that they're up on a cross. But she was acting really butt blasted after flipping sides, right? So when you just leave our organization, whatever, who cares? If you flip sides, we ban you because you have started working with the enemy to help the enemy and attack us. And she was like nailing herself up on a cross on every forum she possibly could about how we were awful human beings because after she literally turned traitor, and like if she just left, whatever, who cares? But you go start shooting us and working to help the enemy, that is treason. That's turning traitor in the game, and we ban you in the game. We're not going to let you back in the organization. And it's just amazing to me that these people will try to backstab their supposed friends and their community, and then be surprised and outraged. It's this pearl clutching, oh God, you couldn't possibly do that. How dare you? How dare you ban me when all I did was flip sides to the enemy and try to help them and shoot all of my former friends and add aid and comfort to the enemy. How dare you ban me? Goons are awful people. Like, she was like, oh, I've been blacklisted because you turned traitor. Like,
here's another thing that I find interesting is it's an interesting aspect of the game, because if somebody would rob PL was known very famously for about 5 years. Oh, sorry.
She was never in GSOL. Sorry, the GSOL guys. Yeah. She was never.
I know she was. I know she wasn't. Yeah.
She was never even in GSOL.
That's why I find this fascinating.
I thought she was at least a line member in GSOL because I don't keep track of who is actually.
No, she wasn't even that. No, she just did her business.
She was just a line member and she was a line member in GSOL, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, she was in GSOL, but not.
She was never a director. She was never a director.
But anyways, but what's amazing about this is people are always shocked by our reaction when we blacklist them, right? So they do a fucked up thing, or they decide to join the enemy and come shoot us. Oh, you're blacklisted. Bye. See you later. You chose to go that route. That's your choice, right? But there's a long stoic history up until this war of goons were allowed to go off on alts and visit other places. Mr. V, Laz, Billy.
Ray, no, so sorry, I keep getting corrections here. One of the persons who was her friend that came with her and went away with her, Rhea was a line member in GSOL and was working with Angelique, but Angelique herself was never even in GSOL at all, not even as a line member. But she's the logistics queen. Mittani, how will your alliance survive with all of these high-level directors who run everything going away? How will you move the goalposts with your logistics directors gone?
Right. But here's the interesting thing. So this question got brought up to me again this week. I've been asked a lot of questions lately, but this week a question was asked, okay, how do you feel about the fact that, all all this goon dirty laundry is being aired. So you have like, we blacklist people. Oh my god. Well, that's public, right? That's a public thing that anyone can go click and look. Oh, all these people are blacklisted. Every alliance that's in the Imperium has access to it. Any line member can see if they're blacklisted or not. It's very simple. But what a lot of people don't seem to remember, because right now PL's the favorite of Reddit and everything, and that kind of gets shunned away, is that PL went through like a period of like 5 years where they were very wealthy, but gave everyone control of everything. And you'd have like every once in a while a guy would come along and steal 30 dreads, or a guy would come along and steal 100 billion and like disappear, and then he would disappear for like 3 months, and PL would hate the guy, like straight up, like, fuck you dude, I hope you burn. And the guy would come back and give some of it back and then be let back in, no big deal. And PL, I never understood that idea. Like, it's like if the guy comes up and, you know, tries to fuck your wife while you're deployed in the military for 3 months, you come home and you find out he did it, that guy's probably not going to survive much longer, right? But then PL would come home and be like, oh, hey, it's cool, man, I understand. So I never understood why people freak out and go, oh my god, they blacklisted her, oh my god, they got rid of her? What? Why would they do that? No, it's, fuck you. That's the way I look at it.
Well, speaking of that, I think it's about time for us. We've gone about 5 minutes over because we started about 5 minutes late.
It's okay, I don't care.
I think it's time for the boat show. What are we going to be doing?
I have no idea. To be quite honest with you, I have no.
You have no idea?
Well, I mean, I'm probably going to go kill this Fortsar, but besides that, I don't really know what I'm going to be doing. Oh shit!
Oh. Don't involve the undocking boat, and we don't do that.
Oh yeah, we'd have to undock.
We don't undock. Okay, so for guys who are looking, watching this before we wrap this up, there is going to be a pre-ping for an op shortly. We have something fun to kill, and also on top of that, again, if you're interested in more weaponized sadism, we have the option of joining the stunt doubles to be taught if you are Baka, as it were, for the Anime Masters. So thanks for turning up, guys, and enjoying our meta boat show. And I want to give a big shout out to Jay Amazingness for not only assassinating carrier after carrier, the ruiner of fax machines, but also putting up with Boat and I running our mouths constantly the entire show.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Jay. I really am.
This has been amazing. I've been laughing about the whole time.
So. That's good. Me? Well, oh, you idiot! Ha ha ha! Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'll see you guys in a few moments, and hopefully Laz is back again next week. I feel like I ruined the show every time I go on because I just giggle all the time.
So we got meta shows and we got meta boat shows now. I figure this way everybody knows what to expect, right?
Yes, exactly. So, all right, bye everyone.
All right, cheers, guys. Thanks for turning up. Oh my.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.